Starting off this countdown, we have Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz has starred in a number of iconic movies, from The Mask to There's Something About Mary to Charlie's Angels, and how could we forget about Shrek? Sadly, it seems as if Cameron is over her acting days. She last appeared on screen in 2014 for the film Annie. 4 years later, in 2018, she announced that she has retired. She said that she didn't really miss performing, and as of now, she's just enjoying spending quality time with her daughter. And she loves having tons of time for herself. Who knows though, maybe in a couple more years she'll give acting another go. But as for now, she's set on her retirement. In our 9th spot, we have Jennifer Stone. Any fan of the old school Disney Channel days will recognize Jennifer Stone from Wizards of Waverly Place, where she plays the eccentric Harper. After her Disney Channel days, Jennifer went on to star in a number of TV miniseries and movies. In fact, she was even in a Christmas movie with the actor who played Ned in Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. Smash that like button if you remember that show. That's a throwback. Anyway, nowadays Jennifer has completely switched careers. She is now a registered nurse and is helping patients with COVID-19. That is incredible. Good for her. In our 8th spot, we have Jessica Biel. In an interview a couple years ago, Jessica revealed that it's getting harder and harder for her to get roles and to be cast. She claims that her good looks were holding her back. No word of a lie, she said that she was too pretty. Anyways, Jessica is still currently acting, but in more low-key roles. I believe her last big role was The Sinner in 2017. I mean, I heard it's a very good show, so props to her. But after that, it's been mainly voiceover gigs like in BoJack Horseman and Pete the Cat. Nothing huge and Oscar-worthy.
At number 7, Lori Loughlin. Actress Lori Loughlin is known for her roles on Full House and Fuller House, but now she's known as yet another celebrity who's been blacklisted from Hollywood. Lori was involved in a college admissions scandal where she bribed college recruiters in order to get her daughter Olivia Jade into a good college. Well, after investigations unfolded and court proceedings went on, Lori was subsequently sentenced to 2 months in jail for her crimes. For a few months, she disappeared from Hollywood and the news as she spent her time behind bars. She began her sentence in late October, whereas her husband was sentenced to 5 months in jail. Now, coming out of the scandal, Lori will be hard-pressed to find work ever again. We already got a taste of Lori disappearing for a while serving her time, so I'm sure she'll stay gone from Hollywood for the foreseeable future.
Coming in at number 6, we have Terry Crews, another actor who has been in some iconic shows and movies. But after Brooklyn Nine-Nine ending, it doesn't seem like Crews has any more work lined up and ready to go. According to his IMDb page, he only filmed Brooklyn Nine-Nine this year, as well as voiced a character in the upcoming animated movie Rumble. This is unlike him, who is normally filming non-stop each year with multiple projects on the go. Hopefully we will be seeing more of Crews next year, but as of now he has no projects lined up.
Halfway, number 5, Dylan Sprouse. After becoming Disney stars, Cole and his brother Dylan stepped away from the spotlight. However, Cole decided to return and is now one of the stars of the hit show Riverdale. Dylan has decided to stay out of acting and decided to attend college. He attended NYU from 2011 to 2015, where he studied video game design. Then after started All Wise Metering. In an interview with Vanity Fair in 2018, Dylan stated, quote, "After graduating, I realized that it's something I really love doing. And it's also a big business opportunity. I was thinking about ways to invest my money, and I thought, well, if there's anything to invest your money in, alcohol is not a bad thing to invest in." Dylan has started a handful of indie short films since, but we don't expect him to come back into the spotlight anytime soon.
Coming in at number 4, we have Freddie Prinze Jr. You might know him in I Know What You Did Last Summer, or maybe from his iconic role of Fred in the live-action Scooby-Doo. That right there is my childhood. He also appeared in a back-to-back role in Friends in 2002. Well, after appearing in season 8 of the show 24 with Kiefer Sutherland, Freddie said that he wanted to quit acting. According to him, and I quote, "I did 24. It was terrible. I hated every moment of it. Kiefer was the most unprofessional dude in the world. That's not me talking trash. I'd say it to his face. I think everyone that's worked with him has said that. Ouch." He continued on saying, and I quote, "I just wanted to quit the business after that, so I just sort of stopped." So a bad set experience is what triggered Freddie to stop acting. Nowadays though, he's a chef and released his own cookbooks. And he's married to Daphne from Scooby-Doo. Anyway.
At number 3, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson has been blacklisted in Hollywood for a while now because of his racist and anti-Semitic remarks, as well as other allegations of misconduct that he's faced. Mel has mostly been out of the Hollywood spotlight in recent years, but last year he faced more allegations of discrimination by actress Winona Ryder. She spoke out in an interview about an encounter that she had with him where he called her a, quote, oven dodger, and made more insensitive remarks. In the interview, she went into more detail about some of the offensive things that Mel has said in regards to the LGBT community and people of Jewish faith. This prompted Mel to get cancelled again, though it really didn't make much difference since he's already so hated in Hollywood. These allegations are really nothing new for Mel, and so he stayed away from the spotlight, but I'm sure he won't be coming back because things like this just keep on happening.
Moving on to number 2, we have Betty White, one of the purest souls out there. Betty White is just incredible. No one can deny that. And this queen is 99 years old. Soon she'll be 100, which is hard to believe because she looks too good for her age. Anyway, Betty White has been slowing down on her work lately. Her recent credits are mainly voiceover work, but she has guest starred in a couple of TV shows and movies. But according to her IMDb page, since 2019 she hasn't done any work, which is completely acceptable. Like, this woman has been working since she was a teenager. I just need to know her secrets to living long and looking that damn good. And in our number 1 spot today we have Daniel Day-Lewis. Now this one is hard to believe. Daniel Day-Lewis is incredibly talented. He's got 3 Oscars, 4 British Academy Film Awards, and even got knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. But in 2017, Daniel Day-Lewis released a statement through his rep. The rep said, and I quote, "Daniel Day-Lewis will no longer be working as an actor. This is a private decision and neither he nor his representatives will make any further comment on this subject." This was announced not long after receiving an Academy Award nomination for Phantom Thread. Now, Lewis did go into semi-retirement in the 90s, so maybe that's what's happening again. He's just gonna take a little short break and then come back. Hopefully, he'll be back making movies in no time.
Starting off at number 10, we've Rick Moranis. Rick was a major comedy star in the 80s, best known for starring in the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise. However, he decided to leave Hollywood in 1991 because his wife Anne sadly died of cancer. He was left as a single father to 2 children and put acting on the back burner to raise his kids. After filming 1997's Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, Rick officially left Hollywood to focus on raising his kids full time. He has voice acted in a handful of roles since, but he's mostly stayed off screen. But it looks like his hiatus might be coming to an end soon, as there are talks to add another installment to the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise. The film is called Shrunk, with Josh Gad playing his son, and it's currently in pre-production on IMDb, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing it soon. Also, make sure to like the video if you're liking it so far. In at number 9, Chris Humphries. Chris Humphries was a professional basketball star and briefly a reality TV star when he was married to Kim Kardashian. The Minneapolis-born athlete played for 9 different professional teams during his career, and he was a pretty low-key player in the league, of course, until the Kardashians got involved. And he became one of the top stars in tabloids with the Kardashian affiliation, even getting him heckled on court. The pair got married, then divorced 72 days later, which of course didn't help the media circus. Chris ended up retiring from the NBA, and he moved back home and started franchising fast casual restaurants. And he's remained out of the spotlight ever since. In at number 8, Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn is of course the legendary old Hollywood actress known for Breakfast at Tiffany's, along with many other iconic films. Her style also influenced the fashion trends of the next few decades. And even though she was a massive star, many people forget that she retired just a few years after her career peaked. During her acting days, Hepburn worked with UNICEF, crediting them with assisting her as a child in the war-torn Netherlands. Then when she retired in 1988, she became an official ambassador, and she used her fame to help people and bring attention to charities and human rights issues.
Coming in at number 7, we have Lindsay Lohan. Honestly, Lindsay Lohan was responsible for some of the most iconic teen movies like Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, The Parent Trap, Get a Clue, Mean Girls, Freaky Friday, like the list goes on and on. So it's quite sad that we lost such a talented actress with tons of potential. Anyways, Lohan's drug addiction got to her and she kind of fell off the map. When she did try and get back into acting, she was hard to deal with on set and she was demanding and unprofessional. Then of course we had the reality show Lindsay Lohan Beach Club in 2019, and that only lasted 1 season. Now she's back out of the public eye again.
And at number 6, Frankie Muniz. Please tell me I'm not the only one that had a huge crush on Frankie Muniz when they were growing up, hopefully not just me. Frankie Muniz was a tween star best known for Malcolm in the Middle, but after he became mega famous as a teenager, he decided to leave acting to pursue another career. He ended up becoming a race car driver, and he had a lot of success too. In 2006, he joined Jensen Motorsport as a race car driver, and according to People, he competed in the Champ Car World Series. He also made his way to the highly televised Las Vegas Grand Prix. Frankie has said that he would go back to acting for Malcolm in the Middle reboot, and he did star in a few seasons of Dancing with the Stars, but he's mostly stayed away from the spotlight since his tween stardom.
At number 5, Jussie Smollett. Former Empire actor Jussie Smollett has been in some hot water for a while following his scandal after he was caught making false police statements about an alleged hate crime against him. In January 2019, Jussie, who was openly gay, claimed that he was attacked by a group of people wearing masks who put a noose around his neck and shouted, "This is MAGA country." Well, after a police investigation ensued, they found that the claim was fake and that Jussie did all of this because he was unhappy about his salary from Empire. The charges against him for making a false report were eventually dropped, but similar charges emerged last year, and Jussie was indicted. As a result of the scandal and his crimes, Jussie was fired from Empire and has struggled to make things work for him in the industry since then. There was even a call to blacklist him from the entire industry, but maybe that formality isn't necessary since no one wants to work with him right now over fears of bad publicity.
And at number 4, Nikki Blonsky. Nikki Blonsky's rise to stardom is such a crazy story it could be the plot of a movie. In 2007, she was scooping ice cream in Cold Stone Creamery when she learned that she'd been cast in the role of Tracy Turnblad in the cinematic reboot of Hairspray after applying to an open casting call. But after the breakout role, her career took a dive. Over the years, as Blonsky's acting roles have become fewer and farther between, rumors have circulated from time to time about what she does to make money. Some photos went viral of her sweeping up at a hair salon, which prompted her to respond on Twitter saying, quote, "It's true, I'm working at Superstar Salon as a makeup artist. And more, I am proud to be working and helping pay bills, but I'll never lose sight of my dream." So it seems like she's still working towards her dreams, but for now, she's out of the spotlight.
Moving on to number 3, we have Taylor Lautner. After Shark Boy and Lava Girl and Cheaper by the Dozen, Taylor went on to star in Twilight, which is probably what he's best known for. Then he acted in Scream Queens Season 2, which was interesting to say the least. After that, he kinda just fell out of the public eye. That was until recently when he announced his proposal to his now fiancée, Taylor Dome, meaning that they will both be Taylor Lautner if she chooses to keep his last name. It seems as if Taylor had a harder time transitioning from Twilight to more serious roles. It took a while, but his co-stars Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart both did it. Now it's time for you, Taylor.
In at number 2, George Clooney. George Clooney has slowly started to drift away from acting, and that's on purpose. The star's opened up in the past about his thoughts of quitting acting for good, and he's spoken about the fact that he doesn't like fame, saying in an interview, quote, "What's the guy in the big house on the hill got to complain about? The truth is the big house on the hill is isolating. There's no other way to say it. There are restrictions to this kind of fame. I haven't walked in Central Park for 15 years. I'd like to, you know?" Then in 2017, he said that he was seriously thinking of quitting acting, saying, quote, "Look, I acted for a long time and I'm 56. I'm not the guy that gets the girl anymore." He also added that he no longer needs to act to make money, as he sold his tequila company Casamigos for $1 billion. At the time, he had not acted in a movie since 2016, however, he did star in the 2020 film Midnight Sky, but that could potentially be his last movie. And at number 1, Taylor Momsen. Gossip Girl character and former child star Taylor Momsen began her transition out of Hollywood while she was still a series regular on the CW's teen soap Gossip Girl, which explains why Momsen looks so different at the end compared to the start of the show. Taylor formally announced that she had quit acting in 2011 to focus on her punk rock career with her band The Pretty Reckless. 9 years later, in 2020, The Pretty Reckless are still rocking on and preparing for a release of their 4th album. True to her word, Taylor has not returned to acting in any capacity. Momsen told the Daily Beast in 2014, quote, "When I got to a place where I realized I was in control of my own life and had found the right band and everything was coming to fruition, it wasn't even a question. I was going to quit my day job. I came to set every day with an effing guitar. But I'm very lucky the producers were nice enough to write me out, allow me to tour and pursue my passion." And honestly, good for her for chasing her dreams.
At number 10, Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner has been having a rough time lately. He's pretty much disappeared from the media and people want to know what's up. Well, essentially, he's been blacklisted from Hollywood because no one really wants to hire him. Since finishing up his time in the Twilight Saga, Taylor hasn't seen very much success. After the franchise ended, Taylor went looking for work, and at first people were ready to offer him some good Hollywood parts, and he was still a big name in the industry after he got so much fame playing his character Jacob Black in the Twilight movies, but soon Hollywood executives realized that he just wasn't the powerhouse that they were expecting. The first few movies he starred in tanked at the box office, and between this and his high asking salary, no one was really keen on taking a chance on the actor. In the years since, he's appeared on some TV shows like Scream Queens, but other than that, we haven't really heard much from him. Taylor has pretty much disappeared into the abyss, and there's no telling whether or not he will ever return. At number 9, Lea Michele. TV and Broadway actress Lea Michele had a tough time last year as she was on the receiving end of a lot of backlash. The criticism she faced last year came from her on-set behavior and the allegation made against her of bullying her co-stars. The first to come forward about Lea's bad attitude was her former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, who responded to her message about George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. Samantha tweeted saying, quote, "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Because I'll never forget. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would in my wig," amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood, end quote. This prompted other people who have worked with her to come forward about their experiences working with Lea, and because of all the backlash she got, she was subsequently dropped by her sponsor HelloFresh because they didn't want to support her past actions and didn't want to align themselves with her. Now Hollywood knows about Lea's poor behavior and will probably disappear from the spotlight soon because of it. Now before I continue on with the video, I'd just like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video because we would really appreciate your support. At number 8, Hartley Sawyer. After all the scandals we've seen in the past, I'm sure we all know that sometimes your tweets can come back to bite you, and for actor Hartley Sawyer, his past tweets really went to town on him. After some of his past racist, sexist, and plain offensive tweets came to light earlier last year, Hartley was fired from his role as Ralph Dibny on the CW show The Flash. This comes after the Black Lives Matter movement began to gain traction last year, and so in a show of accountability and respect for those he offended, the showrunners released a statement informing fans of the show of their decision to let Hartley go, where they said, quote, "In regards to Mr. Sawyer's post on social media, we do not tolerate derogatory remarks that target any race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or sexual orientation. Such remarks go against our values and policies, which strive and evolve to promote a safe, inclusive, and productive environment for our workplace," end quote. Since being fired from the show, Hartley's career has taken a huge hit since his actions have been brought to light, and he will definitely have a hard time finding work since he's considered blacklisted. We haven't heard much from him since the scandal happened, and that's probably because he's already disappeared.
And at number 7, Jamie Lynn Spears. Jamie Lynn Spears is best known for her role as Zoe in the hit show Zoe 101, but she left her career in the height of her fame to become a mother, as she became pregnant shortly after she stopped filming the show at the age of 16. She walked away from fame in an attempt to escape the scrutiny, and years later she shared her thought process at the time with Glamour. She said, quote, "I just wanted to get away from it as much as I could, to just go away and be a mom and figure out what I wanted, and to earn a sense of respect back for myself. Move to a town in the middle of nowhere and just raise my child. All I could be was a good mother." She's now married with 2 children and has not been in the spotlight since.
At number 6, Stassi Schroeder. After facing accusations of racist actions, reality star Stassi Schroeder, one of the cast members of the Vanderpump Rules, has been blacklisted from reality TV and has already begun facing the consequences. This all started after Stassi was part of a fake police report that alleged that one of her fellow cast members, Faith Stowers, was guilty of a crime that she didn't commit. Faith, being the only black cast member on the show, was accused of robbing men in LA. Stassi accused Faith of this crime after seeing a picture of the alleged criminal and saying that this person in question looked like Faith because they were both black. Stassi was later removed from the show for her actions, and as a result of her blacklisting and tarnished reputation, her podcast Straight Up was removed from all platforms. Looks like Stassi is already disappearing, and it might not be too long before she's gone for good.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Jack Gleason, who you might recognize from Game of Thrones. If you're a fan of the show, then chances are you hated his character. But surprisingly enough, even after acting in such an iconic show, Jack barely got any other acting roles after Game of Thrones. In 2014, he was pretty discouraged by this and said he wanted to resign from acting to focus on his academics. He ended up taking a philosophy course in Ireland. When he announced his decision to take a break from acting, he said, and I quote, "I just stopped enjoying it as much as I used to, and now there's the prospect of doing it for a living, whereas up until now it was always something I did for recreation with my friends or in the summer for some fun. I enjoyed it. When you make a living from something, it changes your relationship with it. It's not like I hate it, it's just not what I want to do." But acting isn't out of the picture. He ended up opening a successful touring theater company and starred in the BBC comedy Out of Her Mind in March. He just won't be in the spotlight as much as he was originally.
At number 4, Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry made headlines last year after they announced that they were stepping away from royal duties and would be splitting their time between the US and the UK. Meghan already faced a lot of backlash and scrutiny by the British people and members of the royal family, so in a way she was blacklisted from this society. Her relationship with the royals and her presence in the media, as well as details from her past, made a lot of people hold aggressions towards her. As a result of these circumstances, she and Harry, as well as their son Archie, took a step back from the public eye and their senior duties as members of the royal family. Meghan sort of disappeared from the public as a result, and though this is exactly the outcome that she hoped for, I'm sure it isn't easy being watched the way that she and the rest of the royal family is, so I applaud her for doing what is best for her and her family.
In at number 3, Kevin Jonas. Kevin Jonas is of course the older brother of the Jonas Brothers. But although Kevin Jonas rose to stardom during his time as a performer with his brothers, after the band broke up in 2013, Jonas focused on creating apps and other business ventures with his fortune from his Joe Bro days. He created an app called You'd, which showed nearby restaurants serving the type of food that you picked from a menu. He also started Jonas Warner, a real estate development and construction company that he established soon after the breakup of the band. In addition, Kevin is the co-CEO of The Blue Market. It's a business venture mainly focused on communication and pushing them to be actively visible in social media and gain a following. And although it seems that Kevin would prefer a life away from the spotlight, the band is such a staple in the hearts of young people everywhere, including myself. The band has gotten back together and recently made music. So it seems that Kevin is back in the spotlight for now, but not sure if that could change again in the future.
At number 2, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine was seen as a snitch and a snake for a while after testifying against gang members and supportedly throwing people under the bus in order to get a lighter jail sentence. Well, now that he's out and making music again, he's feeling the repercussions of his tattered name in the media, as well as his time behind bars. Tekashi is now saying that he's been blacklisted by the music industry after his new music wasn't promoted on any streaming platforms and wasn't featured in any playlists. After dropping his album Tattletales, he wasn't met with the same praise that he would have expected, and so after realizing that his music has been in a way shadow banned, he disappeared from the spotlight temporarily since his career wasn't doing so well. Tekashi is known for trolling online, so when fans noticed the rapper had gone MIA, they were a little bit concerned, but none more concerned than the rapper himself because he was afraid for his career. He seems to be slowly bouncing back now, but he still has a little ways to go yet before he can really pick up to where he was before his stay in prison. And finally, at number 1, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp had quite the year in 2020 and not in a good way. As you may all know, Johnny and his ex Amber Heard were all over the news last year concerning Johnny's libel case with the Sun publication and their labeling of Johnny as a wife beater. After the verdict came through on this case, awarding the victory to the Sun, Johnny started feeling the repercussions of this loss. Though the world found out that Johnny was in fact a victim of violence rather than the one who was inflicting the violence, movie studios and executives still started letting Johnny go regardless. First, he was let go from his role as Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts films, and then we learned that he'd been blacklisted from Disney for a while as they refused to cast him in future productions. Now Johnny is susceptible to disappearing from Hollywood because of a loss of work. Though many of his fans are looking to keep his career alive and advocate for him, as far as Hollywood is concerned, he's too much of a risk, so unfortunately it's not looking good for the actor. But I, as well as many others, are optimistic that he will definitely come out on top in the end. Now, I want to know what celebrities you want to see thriving in 2021. Last year was a cesspool of toxicity in the media and in Hollywood, but hopefully things will start to change for the better and we can see some rising stars doing some good. Let me know which celebrities you want to see thrive down in the comments.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Jennifer Lawrence. If you are a fan of the actress, then you might be wondering where she has been lately. She hasn't appeared as a lead in a film since 2018, and there was a time when she was appearing in most of them. Turns out she didn't disappear on purpose or have some epic plan to leave Hollywood, but her presence has not been made known and she hasn't been around much in the last few years. Even before the coronavirus pandemic started, Jennifer had been quarantining in her own little world, it seemed. Turns out she took some time off from acting and got married, which was completely private. She started dating her now husband, Cook Maroney, in 2018, and their wedding was on October 19th, 2019. The whole thing was kept as private as possible, and some would say her priorities were changed due to this new chapter in her life. But some good news, she is set to return to some movies next year. She signed on to a movie called Don't Look Up, which is now delayed until 2021, so it might just be her big comeback. Here's hoping, I really like her. Up next, number 9 is Macaulay Culkin. Probably one of the biggest examples of a celebrity disappearing from the Hollywood limelight. During the 90s, he was a child star that rose above the rest, and it seemed like his future in the industry was very bright. But he suddenly disappeared and people were wondering what happened to the most famous kid on earth. In 1994, he had 3 big movies that year, and all of them bombed at the box office, which would definitely have an impact on a 14-year-old actor trying to make it big. He officially took his exit from the industry in 1995 during a difficult time in his personal life. His parents decided to separate and they were facing a very vicious custody battle over Macaulay and his siblings. In the end, reports say his mother got full custody and he was estranged from his father ever since. We didn't see him in movies for many years, and anytime the paparazzi found him, the articles reported that he was struggling with a drug addiction. It wasn't until recent years that he has resurfaced and is taking on smaller projects but on his own terms. Swiping the number 8 spot is Meg Ryan. For a long time, she was known as America's sweetheart after taking over the 90s with her beauty and talent. After her first movie role in 1981, she kept getting job offers to a point where she had to drop out of college to focus on her film career. She was starring in some of the biggest rom-coms to this date, but then just disappeared in the early 2000s. Some people thought it may have to do with the scandal in which she was caught cheating on Dennis Quaid with Russell Crowe. Almost a decade after the scandal, she revealed that she was treated like the Scarlet Woman after that scandal happened, and revealed that Dennis had been dating other women too during their relationship. She also admitted that leaving Hollywood was actually a dream. During an interview, she said, "I have gotten what I guess I secretly wanted to do, be totally under the radar and live my life." Meg had no roles from 2009 to 2015, but in recent times you may see her in paparazzi photos around New York or some events because she will always be Meg Ryan. During her time away, she completely reconstructed her face though, so she may not be as recognizable as when you saw her last. Sliding into the number 7 spot is James Franco. The reason why he landed himself on the blacklist is really no surprise anymore. It was in the news for a while and I have talked about it a handful of times on this channel, but for those who aren't familiar with the story, I will sum it up for you. It all started back in 2014 when screenshots surfaced of him trying to rent a hotel room for him and a 17-year-old girl who he knew was underage, and screenshots show that. Of course, when the screenshots broke the internet, people were disgusted and we thought we would never hear from him again. But surprisingly, his career continued on after the scandal faded out. All was good in the hood until 2018 when he showed up to the Golden Globe Awards wearing a Time's Up pin. The pin was designed to show support for women who are victims of sexual assault and harassment. But a variety of women started tweeting accusations of sexual misconduct and assault in reference to his pin. They literally started tweeting out stories of how he sexually assaulted them and hashtagged it #CuteTimesUpPin. Since then, he's been completely MIA. We haven't seen him on the big screen, and he deleted all of his social media accounts. Anything on his IMDb accounts are small projects that he has produced himself on his own budget. His most recent project, Zeroville, just came out and it's the first time we are seeing him acting in years. However, it's already been titled the biggest box office flop of 2019, earning just $8,000 on its opening weekend in the US. Yikes. Rolling into number 6 is Rachel Platten. The singer skyrocketed into fame with her hit single Fight Song. She grew a huge fan base rather quickly, and one fan even made it on the Ellen Show after she did an emotional cover to the song Fight Song. Her music career was gaining a ton of success and she's even gone on some pretty epic tours. But in recent times, she's gone quiet and has not been putting out new music. She opened up about her reasoning in 2019, saying that after having a baby, she struggled with postpartum anxiety. She opened up about it in a lengthy Instagram post where she said that even when she was on tour, she was crying in bathrooms some days because the anxiety was so difficult. So once the tour was done, she poured her heart and soul into being a new mom and less on the Hollywood life as a singer. But she did recently pop up on TikTok and said that she's creating new music and is hoping to be back into it soon. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Richard Stanley. Now this man isn't well known to some, but his story of disappearance is really interesting. If you've ever heard of the movie The Island of Dr. Moreau, he was the director and got himself fired just 3 days into production. According to the Telegraph, he was supposed to be escorted onto a flight from the set in Australia and fly back to Los Angeles, but when the plane arrived at LAX, he wasn't on it. Some of the extras from the movie ended up finding him a month later living in the jungle. Turns out he left the airport and made his way through the jungle by living off of coconuts, yams, and his personal marijuana stash. No, this is not a joke. What's even crazier is that he teamed up with the extras to create a plan to get back onto the movie set by dressing up as a mutant dog and blending in with the background actors. Like what? I know this story doesn't sound real, you guys, but it is. I swear. Like the source is down below. Taking the number 3 spot on our list is J.D. Salinger. Everyone who went through high school had to read the book The Catcher in the Rye, which was written by a famous author, J.D. Salinger. He sadly passed away in 2010 at the age of 91, but before that, his career took a turn and he went into hiding after being blacklisted, but we never even knew. In 2013, 2 authors named Shane Salerno and David Shields published a book called Salinger, which revealed the author's crazy life and uncovered some very heartbreaking stories. Turns out he actually never spoke about his time in the World War II, and he ended up checking himself into a mental institution after leaving to help him deal with what he had witnessed in the war. Once he left the institution, he actually went back into the army and participated in the denazification of Germany. But because of this, there were times that some of his books were turned down. Publishers turned him down because they thought that he was crazy. Shane Salerno said during an interview, "Being told that he was crazy was a great wound to him. In fact, he teared up in the room and was deeply, deeply hurt." They said that the effects of the war and being turned down as a writer sent him into this life of isolation. He disappeared from everyone and went on to live a very private life. Honestly, after hearing this story, I feel like I really underappreciated the whole Catcher in the Rye book. Like, I hated reading that. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I probably did those things where you googled the notes and it like sums it up for you. In spot number 2 is Freddie Prinze Jr. The actor was popping up in movies all over the place between 1998 to 2003, but then just disappeared without much reasoning for it. He did try to make big comebacks, but his last big screen appearance was in 2008. He was a huge heartthrob in the 90s and won multiple Teen Choice Awards for his roles. But it seemed like his career had lost some momentum, and he ended up trading in his movie career for a family. He married actress Sarah Michelle Gellar, who also retired from Hollywood, and now they have 2 children together and have changed their career paths. When asked if he would return to acting, he said, "I love being a full-time father. To remove myself from that equation would not be a good thing. I'm basically retired." After acting, he turned his focus on cooking and now has his own cookbooks, which I thought was very random. We have made it to number 1, and we have Amanda Bynes. She had everything she needed as a young star to climb to the top. She seemed passionate about her work and was determined to keep her success going. Fans absolutely adored her in every role that she took on. But then everything sort of took a turn and fans no longer saw her on their screens. Articles started surfacing showing she had been struggling with substance abuse and was getting in trouble with the law, being arrested for DUIs and other minor crimes. She was in and out of treatment center for years, and fans were hoping that she would find her way back. But her struggles actually go deeper than just drugs. Reports say that she struggles with mental illness and has been trying to find treatments for it. In recent years, she's been able to turn her life around, working hard to get an education. She recently received a degree in fashion after studying at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles, and her lawyer said that she's thinking about creating her own clothing and perfume line. Starting off the list at number 10 is Jay Quan. He made a name for himself in the music industry after rapping about everybody in the club getting tipsy. You remember? Everybody in the club get tipsy. What's the next part? Something like that, right? I don't remember, something like that, but you guys remember that was his song. Anyways, his career was on the rise the same way his songs were on the charts, but then he disappeared from the music world and the public eye altogether. His own friend and manager, Dorian Washington, revealed in March 2010 that he kept trying to call and email him and hadn't seen him since August 2009. His label issued a statement asking fans to help locate the rapper. They even set up a special Twitter account called @WhereIsJayQuan. After all the chaos, his manager finally wrote a statement saying, "I am very happy to let everyone know that I personally spoke with Jay Quan today and he is okay. He was taking some time to himself as he sometimes does, not realizing that people would start to worry after a while." How could you not realize something like that? At least just tell your family. At number 8 is Dave Chappelle. Comedy fans saw him everywhere in the early 2000s when he was starring on his comedy show, Chappelle's Show. The entire show was headlined by him, and he had some other comedian guests to help him out. His series was successful, being nominated for an Emmy and catching the eyes of other rival networks. His representatives went to negotiate a contract for season 3 and later reported that Dave, I quote, signed a new development deal with Comedy Central that could have yielded him as much as $50 million. After that headline made news, he went missing. No one knew what happened to him or the show, and how he could just walk away from a $50 million contract. Fans later learned that he was in South Africa attending a spiritual retreat. He continued to remain in hiding and focus on his personal life until he made a successful return back in 2016. Up next, number 7 is Jonathan Taylor Thomas, another heartthrob from the 90s who just disappeared from the industry randomly. He's mostly known for his role on the hit TV show Home Improvement, but he was winning over hearts ever since he performed the voice of young Simba in The Lion King. But when he reached his late teens, he quit Home Improvement, did a couple indie films, and then just vanished completely. A very bold move for someone who was just at the height of their career and probably had a long, successful one ahead of them. He is now 39 years old and hasn't walked a red carpet in over 15 years. So where did he go and what is he been up to? Turns out that he loved acting but hated the fame and attention being directed at his personal life. So he left and decided to focus on his studies instead. At 19 years old, he enrolled at Harvard University, where he spent 2 years studying philosophy and history. A few years ago though, he did make an appearance in Last Man Standing, where he was reunited with Tim Allen, who actually played his dad in Home Improvement. But he did it just for fun and says that he enjoys his life outside of Hollywood. Swiping the number 6 spot is Governor Mark Sanford. I feel like the governor counts as a celebrity. Right? I mean, like, he's really well known. Regardless, he's on this list, and back in 2009, he was the governor of South Carolina. People were completely thrown off when he suddenly disappeared for 6 days without telling anyone where he went. I feel like if you're a governor, you can't do that. After the first 6 days, he started telling people that he was going on a hike on the Appalachian Trail. However, he was really going to Argentina to visit his mistress, a woman named Maria Belen Chapur. Once the story surfaced, he admitted to his secret affair and returned to the US and asked for forgiveness. Well, he kinda begged for it. And for those wondering, after the disappearance mystery was solved, his marriage did fall apart. As it should. Halfway through the list, number 5 is Brendan Fraser. 10 years ago, he was one of Hollywood's biggest stars, but then he suddenly disappeared. For 90s babies like me, you would know him from the Mummy franchise, George of the Jungle, and the Looney Tunes. After 2008, he disappeared from starring in big movie roles, and people started saying it was due to a drug addiction. But he finally came out with the truth years later, admitting that it had to do with an incident of sexual assault. He claimed that he was once physically groped by Philip Burke, a former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Burke called the allegation a, I quote, total fabrication, but still sent Brendan an apology letter after the actor complained to the HFPA. Since coming out with his story, he has slowly been returning to some acting roles, but for the most part, he just lays low at his home in New York. He actually bought a big house that overlooks a farm and has spent the last year going back and forth between home and Toronto. He loves spending time with his horses and relaxing down his little dirt road. Definitely a big step back from the Hollywood lifestyle. Here we are at number 4 with Randy Quaid. He was once an Academy Award nominee actor before he disappeared from the limelight. In 2010, his disappearance started making headlines, revealing that he and his wife, Evie Quaid, fled to Canada to try and make a deal with a group called Hollywood Star Whackers, who allegedly were out to kill them. But on their escape to Canada, they got involved in some illegal activities. They used fake credit cards to pay for hotel bills, and also lived in one of their former homes, which they no longer owned or had rights to. According to CNN, they were granted permission to stay in Canada in 2011. His wife was able to get her Canadian citizenship because her dad was born in Canada, but Randy's request was denied in 2013. The actor was finally detained by Canadian immigration officials in October 2015 and was set to be deported back to the US later that month. However, he and his wife were arrested for trying to sneak back into the US through Vermont. So it's basically just a big show. Everyone always runs off to Canada because we're so nice over here. We'll just let you come in. Making our way into number 3 is Mara Wilson. If you watched the movie Matilda when you were a kid, then you quickly fell in love with the title character and hoped that she would be your friend and teach you all of her cool magic tricks. The movie is a cult classic, and the actress behind the iconic character, Mara Wilson, had a very successful career lined up for her. But just a few years after the movie was released, Mara decided to quit the biz. Many people couldn't understand her decision and reasoning, so down the road she wrote a book called Where Am I Now? The Stories of Girlhood and Accidental Fame. After leaving Hollywood and growing her personal life, she found a passion for writing and started writing her own novels. She now lives a very normal life, but said that sometimes she will act in smaller projects with her friends. Taking our number 2 spot on our list is Casey Kasem. The legendary radio host of American Top 40 suddenly went missing, and his children reported it to the police, saying that they could not find him. It was then in May 2014 that the judge ordered that his whereabouts be disclosed. The order was made because his daughter Carrie was named his temporary conservator. She had expressed expressed fear that he was taken by his wife Jean, who had an ongoing battle with the entire family. The radio host was suffering from Lewy body disease, and Carrie thought her mom took him out of the country or to an Indian reservation to seek treatment. A missing persons report was filed with the Santa Monica police, but he was reported to be found in the state of Washington not long after. Sadly, he died a month later at the age of 82, and his family drama continued on long after his death, still making headlines. At number 1 is D.B. Cooper. He only became famous for hijacking an aircraft in the Northwest United States back in 1971. TV show plots, songs, and books have all been based on the legend of this man for many years, including the movie Without a Paddle. The craziest part about the story is that he's actually an unidentified man. His real identity still remains a mystery to this day, so D.B. Cooper is just the name that he's been given. On Thanksgiving Eve back in 1971, he hijacked a plane saying he had explosives in his possession and demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes in addition to a truck when they landed at the airport. Authorities did pay out the ransom and gave him the parachutes. However, before they got to the airport, he jumped from the plane 10,000 feet near Mount St. Helens in Washington state. He was never found, and in July 2016, the FBI declared that they were no longer pursuing him. So basically, he could be out there walking the streets right now. He could be watching this. Hi DB. Starting off the list at number 10 is Monique. It has been a year since the actress rocked the industry by going head to head with Netflix, saying that she didn't get paid what other comedians did for her comedy special. Things went as far as Monique demanded a boycott against Netflix and turned down the $500,000 they offered her for the special. I'll take that $500,000. Amy Schumer got $13 million for hers, to put it into some perspective for you. So I guess, yes, that is a big difference. Long story short, she caused a huge controversy saying that she didn't get paid as much because she was black. She then went on to insult about 80% of fellow entertainers in the industry who weren't supportive of her claims. And that is when the queen of daytime TV stepped in, Oprah. The two of them were once like family, pretty much best friends, but had an issue back in 2009 after Oprah brought Mo's family on her show without her consent. She ended up bringing her mom and her brother, who Monique has openly accused of sexually assaulting her, so obviously there was a lot of beef there. They were able to work things out, but when it came to these more recent scandals with Netflix and the rest of Hollywood, Oprah called Monique negative during an interview, and she clapped back at Oprah, calling her a coward. We haven't heard much from her ever since, and she hasn't acted in anything since 2016. So girl, where are you at? Where are you hiding? Next up at number 9 is Jared Fogle. If you don't recognize him by just his name, he was that guy that was pretty much in every Subway commercial. He was literally the pitch man for the entire company, like that was his actual job. He got the sweet gig after losing a significant amount of weight with the help of Subway sandwiches. His weight loss story led him to being the spokesperson for all of their advertising campaigns from the years 2000 all the way until 2015. We saw his face everywhere, but then all of a sudden that quickly changed and he basically went into hiding. But once we found out why, it made sense. Some people might have noticed that he was no longer the face of Subway and questioned why, until headlines came out saying that he was charged for child pornography and paying for sex with minors. He pleaded guilty to his charges and was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. His attorneys argued that he should only have a 5-year sentence since the girls he had sex with were 16 and 17 years old, not young children. That did not work in his favor. Jared agreed to pay a total of $1.4 million in restitution to 14 different victims, and on top of that, the judge fined him $175,000. Since then, his disappearance is no longer a mystery, and he is now behind bars. Coming in at number 8 is Stacey Dash. You probably know her as the actress from the iconic movie Clueless. She was blacklisted a few years ago after her political views cost her her entire career. She's a conservative who was clever enough to write a book on her blacklisting experience and called it "There Goes My Social Life From Clueless to Conservative." It all happened by one simple tweet. During the Barack Obama election, she tweeted out, "Vote for Romney, the only hope for your future." She said she tweeted it out because she didn't want Obama to have another 4 years, they were her beliefs, and she was sticking by them. But when she woke up the next day, everything was different. She spoke about it during an interview in 2016 and said, "I've been blacklisted, my agents have dropped me, I haven't auditioned in over a year because my beliefs and what I stand for." After that, she disappeared from Hollywood basically. We stopped hearing about her, but the mystery of her disappearance ended just 2 days ago. She was back in the headlines, but this time it was because of her mugshot. Turns out she was arrested for domestic battery after an incident with a male. So things are not looking too good for her. Next up at number 7 is Fan Bingbing. She is one of China's highest paid stars and was in the Hollywood spotlight in 2014 after she starred in X-Men Days of Future Past. Her face was everywhere and she was walking every red carpet to promote the film, but before we knew it, the media was reporting that she suddenly disappeared. Rumors started and were later confirmed that she was busted for committing tax evasion. The Global Times revealed that Fan reported an income of $1.5 million in a small contract and $7.5 million in a larger contract, which was illegally filed as tax-free income. She was placed in secret detention, which explains why she mysteriously disappeared out of nowhere, but she was eventually released after her company agreed to pay $130 million back in taxes and fines. Once she emerged back in the spotlight, she issued an apology saying, "I am deeply ashamed and guilty about what I have done. My sincere apologies to you." And at number 6 is Roseanne Barr. The actress once had her own ABC show titled after her, Roseanne, which is why it is such a shame that she lost it all by another single tweet. People are losing their careers over Twitter. Maybe it is time to delete your account. Besides her work, she's also known for being a Trump supporter, which of course has caused her some controversy. However, it was a specific tweet back in May 2018 that had her career spiral out of control. Her tweets were about Valerie Jarrett, a senior advisor to the former President Barack Obama. In her tweet, she compared Valerie to the cross between the Muslim Brotherhood and the movie Planet of the Apes. ABC canceled her show immediately, which was supposed to reboot the same day, coincidentally. As of January of this year, her Twitter was off limits and she moved into her mother's basement in order to get out of LA. She said that she was worried that everyone hated her and just wanted to avoid the public eye. We haven't heard or seen much from her, but the paparazzi is still trying. A more recent image surfaced a few months ago of Roseanne looking all disheveled outside of her home in Salt Lake City, Utah. Apparently, she was trying to take a picture of the paparazzi's license plate. She looks like a damn hot mess. Halfway through the list, at number 5 is Cameron Diaz. Back in 2014, she was one of the most sought out female celebrities in the game. She was appearing in tons of magazines and taking the lead in comedy rom-coms. But then she suddenly disappeared from the limelight and was no longer showing up on our screens. It wasn't until 2018 when she admitted to Entertainment Weekly that she had officially retired from acting. Fans were shocked at first, but later found out that she went on to have a more quiet family life. She got married to Benji Madden and they had a little girl, so her attention and priorities completely switched. As it would for a lot of new mothers. Reports say that having a baby was one of the main reasons why she left Hollywood. Reports claim that they were trying to get pregnant for a while and nothing was working. But fans did get a nice surprise recently when she did a Skype interview with Jimmy Fallon where she talked about being a mom and what she is up to these days. Here we are, number 4, with Paula Deen. For years you would have seen her face plastered all over the Food Network. This was until a lawsuit was filed against her by Lisa Jackson, accusing the celebrity chef of racial discrimination. Lisa is Paula's former general manager at one of her restaurants, so they were once very close. She claims that Paula was using the N-word when talking about African Americans. She was asked during an interview if she has ever used this word, and her response was, "Yes, of course, it's just what they are, they're jokes. Most jokes are about Jewish people, rednecks, black folks. I can't determine what offends another person." After her statement, networks canceled her TV programs worldwide and stores even stopped selling her products. She disappeared from the public eye for a while, but was recognized once again after making insensitive comments about another Food Network star that passed away. Chef Carl Ruiz died at the age of 44 and many celebrity chefs posted beautiful tributes in his honor. However, while appearing on the Big J show, she was asked about his death and her response was, "I'm not familiar with him, but I'm sorry to hear that. You know, they say the restaurant business will kill you. No pun intended." She laughed it off, but no one was laughing with her, and just when you thought she might get off the blacklist, she done did it again. Dug herself a deeper hole. Alright guys, at number 3 is Margot Kidder. She was a huge star back in 1978 after starring as Lois Lane in the Superman movie, but a missing persons report was filed after she disappeared for 4 days back in April 1996. No one knew what was going on until police found her hiding out in the bushes of a suburban California home. Police say that she was, I quote, "dirty, frightened, and paranoid with bruises and scratches all over her body." She ended up being taken to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. When she was discovered, it was reported that she'd actually cut off all of her own hair with a razor blade to try and alter her appearance so that people wouldn't recognize her. She later spoke on the incident saying that she suffered from manic depression and spent years working on it. Sadly, she did pass away on May 2018 at 69 years old as a result of drug overdose. This one didn't have a happy ending. Taking second place on our list is Lelaine, the adored Disney star from the hit TV series Lizzie McGuire. Fans started questioning where she went when she didn't show up in the final episodes of the series, and when they didn't see her return for the Lizzie McGuire movie either. In the movie, they said her character was on a family vacation in Mexico, but the real reason she went missing is because she was actually arrested and pled guilty to the possession of crystal meth. Somehow she managed to keep it all hidden during the time that it was going on. It actually wasn't until she had a warrant out for her arrest that it made headlines. She was charged with a felony after not showing up for her court appearance. After her legal issues were all sorted out, she went on to work a regular job in LA where she said it just paid the bills. It was recently announced that Lizzie McGuire was coming back with a reboot, so fans are wondering if maybe she will be making a return. Is she going to be invited? Will she say yes? We're gonna have to wait and see. Taking our number 1 spot is Richard Simmons. The hilarious exercise guru taught his last exercise class in 2014, and we haven't seen him ever since. Like literally, he walked out of the Beverly Hills studio and wasn't seen publicly for over 3 years. A podcast was created called Missing Richard Simmons, which claimed that he was being held hostage in his Hollywood Hills home by his housekeeper, or that he was possibly transitioning into a woman. Rumors started spreading, but his brother Lenny Simmons came forward with a statement saying, I quote, "He's not sick. These things about him transitioning into a woman are ridiculous. After 40 some odd years, he just decided that he wants to rest, he wants time to himself." The only reason he ever found himself blacklisted was because of his choice to leave and how he went about it, without any explanation at all. Fitness friend Billy Blank said in June 2019 that he thinks Richard will be making a comeback, but Richard's representative declined to comment on it. I mean, he's 70 years old now. Let the man rest.